Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so it's election analysis time. We got two very interesting polls to get into from somewhat unreliable pollsters. That's NPR/Marist and ABC News. Now, of course, if you exist on Twitter, then you're probably going to notice all the Rhino Republicans, you know, those controlled opposition pro-DeSantis accounts. Well, they're all celebrating, taking a victory lap, saying, "I told you so." And of course, the leftists are joining in, linking these two polls over and over again, telling us it's the demise of Donald Trump. There's no coming back. We got two outlier polls, therefore the sky is falling. Well, I'm not so sure. I'm not so convinced that that's the case. Supposedly, these polls are signaling Donald Trump's demise, but if we delve a little bit deeper, I think there's a different story to be told here, although obviously there is an element of it that could be concerning, which we'll further analyze as we go forward here. The headline of the day is that supposedly RFK Jr. is now all of a sudden pulling more votes from Donald Trump than he is from Joe Biden. We'll take a look at the numbers, we'll do some polling analysis. We don't only look at the good polls, we got to pay attention to the cruddy pollsters. Let's take a look at what was just released. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here we are, we're looking at the average, and as you see, in a head-to-head matchup, Trump's lead is dwindling a little bit in the aggregate. That's thanks to this new NPR/Marist poll, which supposedly shows Joe Biden with over 50% support nationally with a +3 lead. Now, like I said, if you look on Twitter, you'd think the sky is falling. My reaction, well, I don't really get the panic or the attempted left-wing manufacturing of right-wing panic, very simply because it's an NPR poll. We've been following the numbers for a while at this point, obviously, and the clear trend has been that Donald Trump has been frankly dominating. I mean, just scroll through the list and it's red as far as the eye can see. Trump +1 to all the way to Trump +8. Depending on the pollster, depending on the poll. However, if we look at Marist polls, simply click Control F on your keyboard and then tab through every Marist poll that's been released throughout the last 12 months, well, you'll notice something. Throughout a sea of red, NPR/Marist has been a complete outlier. There hasn't been a single poll released this year or in 2023 from NPR Marist that has shown Donald Trump leading. I'm going to screen cap here and go through each and every single one. You'll see Marist polls highlighted. The latest one has Biden +3. The one before that showed a Biden +2 lead. The one before that, a Biden +1, Biden +1 again, Biden +3, Biden +1. Every single poll that they have released has been a complete outlier. Even in a sea of red, where Donald Trump is leading across the board, NPR Marist has yet to have Trump leading even once in their data releases. And as we know, Marist College is a highly selective, comprehensive liberal arts institution, so it's not exactly surprising. In other words, I don't really get what the whole fuss is about. Joe Biden is leading nationally in an NPR Marist poll. How is that news? Or really, how is that concerning this far out from the election where the debates haven't even happened and Trump hasn't even picked his running mate yet? Not to mention, we don't know what's going to happen in the hush money trial, which of course, if he's completely exonerated, or if they end up attempting to jail him or imprison him, well, we all know what that's going to do to the polling numbers. The idea that we should be hitting the panic button because of this one poll, well, that notion's a little bit ridiculous to say the least, especially considering back in 2020, well, these were the polls that they released. The last poll ahead of election showed Biden leading by supposedly 11 points nationally. They were off the mark by 7 percentage points. I actually don't even understand why they're included in the aggregate, considering they've been horribly off the mark throughout every recent election cycle in memory. But this is what leftists are celebrating. This is what they're telling us spells the demise of Donald Trump. I'm not worried about it, but what is maybe a little bit concerning is that the last two polls released, the NBC News poll and the Marist poll, well, supposedly they're now showing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pulling in anywhere from 13 to 14% of the vote, and supposedly stripping Trump of the lead, and now handing big gains to Joe Biden, showing him with a +5 and a +2 lead in 5-way races. But again, these are national numbers, so it's hard to read into it. They could possibly be outliers. We're going to follow this trend. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it could be cause for concern. But anyways, outside of the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. element, which will of course continue to follow, I'm not so sure these polls should be cause for celebration within Democrat circles. If we take a look at the crosstabs, in the NPR Marist poll, supposedly, Trump is only leading with white voters by 3 percentage points. Yeah, seems a little bit unbelievable to me. But then we look at black and Latino voters, supposedly they're showing that black voters are supporting Donald Trump at a rate of 36% to Joe Biden's 62%. Some really really, really odd numbers, and it almost makes me think that maybe there's something brewing here. Maybe there's another message to take from this NPR poll, that their numbers are likely wildly inaccurate, but when you delve in a little bit deeper, you learn that, holy freaking crap, Donald Trump might be making insane gains with minority voters. And Kellyanne Conway said this recently.
Your analysis. They didn't even have enough Hispanics to stand behind Joe Biden in the Mexican restaurant that he had the mural behind him of stereotypical people. Look, every way you look at it, Hispanics have so many reasons to dump Biden-Harris. The main one is the border. How cynical of an entire Democratic Party to believe that in the 9 years since Donald Trump elevated into the international consciousness his view on illegal immigration, build the wall, be fair to the people here, America first. 9 years later, the Democrats still think that attacking Donald Trump on the border is going to get them Hispanic vote. Hispanics are also upset that they are hostile to religion, that they masked up their kids and kept them home for the better part of 2 school years, the economic upward mobility that is being lost to them. So I think Donald Trump's going to have monster gains among Hispanics, and I think it's part of why he should pick a person of color as his VP.
You know, that might be a really good idea considering what this NPR data is telling us. The way I'm looking at it is no way Trump is only leading with the white vote by +3. His lead is likely much bigger than that. And of course, if we account for enthusiasm, if we account for voter turnout and new voters, newly registered voters and low propensity voters, it's likely that Trump's to outperform what this data is telling us, especially considering the circumstances surrounding this election. Leftists are celebrating national polling data that supposedly has Joe Biden experiencing a massive surge, but again, I'm just not seeing it. And again, if we delve in a little bit deeper into sentiment polling in that NBC poll that supposedly has Donald Trump trailing by a couple percentage points in a 5-way race, well, again, it's telling us a different story that I don't think leftists should be celebrating too early.
We talk about the erosion for Biden, and now you start to see it. Look at these numbers. Trump advantages on all of these traits.
And I stop here because competent and effective, that was President Biden's, the crux of his campaign pitch back in 2020.
And we actually polled this question in 2020, and it was basically the exact opposite. It was Biden with about a 10-point advantage over Trump. And again, same with handling a crisis. Biden had the edge over Trump. And how about this? It's the former president, the current president. We don't really see matchups like this. Well, now we can measure it. Who has the strong record as president? And again, Trump outpacing Biden on that front. And again, you got to mention this one too, necessary mental and physical health. We asked this 4 years ago. It was a wash. It's now a clear liability for Joe Biden. So these are all troubling numbers for Biden.
You mean to tell me that Trump is trailing Joe Biden, even though he's leading on pretty much every single major important issue? And not just small leads, but huge leads. The biggest issues right now are the southern border, inflation in the economy, and crime. He's winning on those 3 issues by massive margins. Joe Biden's underwater on immigration by 30 points. And we're not even in peak campaign season. There's a lot of attempted leftist dunking on right-wingers right now all over Twitter, but I'm really not reading the data in the same way that they are. I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I think there's something beneath the surface that is brewing that's going to shock the world just like the world was shocked back in 2016. If you analyze voting trends in some of the most important districts, some of the most important states, I'm seeing Republicans making gains, especially in places like Pennsylvania. And I'm working on another election analysis video, which will get more into depth on that exact topic on another day. But if you look at the crosstabs, if you really delve into the data, there's clearly evidence of something happening that might shock the world. And this potential phenomenon is even showing up in the worst of polls. People, an NPR Marist poll is showing Donald Trump pulling 36% of the black vote nationally and nearly half of the Latino vote. That's what I'm looking at. This is all early polling data. There's no reason to panic. Just let things mature a little bit. Let things develop, and we'll reconvene in a couple weeks to address whether these supposed concerning trends are actually concerning at all. As for now, I'm mostly disregarding this NPR poll like I do with every other NPR poll. The NBC poll, however, on the 5-way race, a little bit of a cause for concern, but no reason to panic. And looking at the crosstabs, well, let's just say there's some interesting data. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to burst the leftist bubble because they're celebrating all over Twitter. Oh, it's over. What are we, 6 or 7 months away from election time? I think it's a little bit early to be doing victory laps because of 1 or 2 polls. If anything, it shows how desperate the other side is to claim a single victory. Let's give them the victory of the day. My perspective remains relatively unchanged. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.